Welcome to the City of Farmers Branch Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. It is presently 7 p.m. on Monday, June the 12th, 2023. I'd like to thank the commissioners for their service. First up, we'll hear citizen comments. This agenda item provides an opportunity for citizens to address the Planning and Zoning Commission on any matter that is not posted on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the commission should complete a citizen comments registration form and submit it to the chair prior to the start of the meeting. There is a 3-minute time limit for each citizen to speak, with a reasonable limitation on speakers on any one topic or item, with a maximum of 15 total minutes on the same topic item. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial. The Planning and Zoning Commission is not permitted to take action on any subject raised by a speaker during citizen comments. However, the Planning and Zoning Commission may have the item placed on a future agenda for action, refer the item to the Director of Planning for further study or action, briefly state existing city policy, or provide a brief statement of factual information in response to the inquiry. I've received no citizen comment cards. Do we have any? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to regular agenda items. Item B1, consider approval of the May 22nd, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission minutes and take appropriate action. Commissioners?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, any further conversation on the matter? Discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? All right, that carries. Thank you kindly. Up next will be the public hearing, item C1. Conduct a public hearing and consider a request for a detailed site plan amendment with special exceptions related to signage for a multifamily development on approximately 8.02 acres located at 11900 Commerce Street, and take appropriate action. Thank you, Sarah.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sarah Bergman, lead planner. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Mercer Parkway and Commerce Street, approximately 8.02 acres, zoned PD 88, and the site is currently being developed with a 4-story multifamily complex with structured parking garage. The detailed site plan for this request was approved in December 2019, and the applicant is now proposing a signage package as an amendment to this detailed site plan. The proposed signage does exceed the size and placement requirements of PD 88, so 3 special exceptions are requested, and no other changes to the approved detailed site plan are requested. So this is an overview map showing the proposed signage. A total of 5 signs are proposed, including 2 blade signs, 2 wall signs, and 1 awning sign. The PD 88 requirement for blade signs limits them to 18 inches in height and 3 feet in width, located at least 9 feet above the sidewalk. These are the 2 blade signs that are proposed for the project. The larger sign is Main ID 1. It totals 14 feet in height and would be located on the northern facade facing Mercer Parkway, approximately 15 feet above ground level. And then the second sign would be closer to the entrance to the parking garage. This is a smaller sign measuring 7.5 feet in height, and both would be painted aluminum cabinets with LED lighting. Wall signs are limited in PD 88 to 2 feet in height, located between the first floor and second story floor line. And then there are 2 wall signs proposed with this request. Both are along the southern building facade facing LBG Freeway. The first one is oriented horizontally on the left here. This would measure approximately 3.7 feet in height and just over 37 feet in width, being installed just below the roof line for the project. And then the second sign would be oriented vertically, measuring about 20 feet in height and 4.3 feet in width. Both of these signs would be individual channel letters with LED lighting. And then finally, 1 awning sign is proposed for the leasing office. The PD does require lettering to be a maximum of 6 inches tall and to be installed on fabric on the side of the awning. In this case, the development was approved with a modern building design and includes metal awnings, and so the applicant is proposing 1.6-foot lettering for the leasing office there. Here are a couple of site photos. You can see that the building is nearing completion. This is the primary facade along Mercer Parkway, so that's where you'd see that larger blade sign. Commerce Street has the leasing office sign and the entrance to the parking garage sign, and then the two larger signs are proposed facing LBJ Freeway. This site is located within the West Side Plan area, which designates it as an employment district. The existing multifamily development aligns with this recommendation and the zoning changes that have occurred on the west side in recent years to allow more residential uses. We did mail 7 zoning notification letters to surrounding property owners, and we have not received any written response. And staff does recommend approval of the detailed site plan amendment and special exceptions. I'd be happy to answer any questions. The applicant did also submit a lighting package that's included in your packet for reference, and then the applicant is here as well to answer questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for the staff. We maybe not have the answer. I might have to ask the applicant. But the lighting, is the lighting on all throughout the night, or does it cut off, come on at a certain time and then go off, or?
Yeah, I'll let the applicant speak to that. I assume that it would be throughout the night, but I'd let them answer.
And if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
Gene Babb, 6509 Windcrest Drive, Plano, Texas.
Thank
And
you.
I'm with Davis Development. We are the developer of the multifamily project. To answer your question, I believe there is a timing on it, and so I believe, I don't know the certain time that it will go off, but yes, it will at some point go off. It won't be on all night.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So these are bigger than what was the recommended, right? So.
Yes, ma'am.
And y'all have approved everything. So would that, if another place is close, would they want theirs bigger?
I can speak a little bit to that.
I mean, it's not a biggie, but I'm just wondering if we
Sure.
let him do it great big, someone else wants theirs bigger too?
Sure. So there's a couple of factors here, and let me go back to the aerial map. There is an existing multifamily complex to the west here that has a similar wall sign along the 635 frontage. It's located at the top of the building, and it's larger than the PD allows.
Okay.
And so in both of these situations, we feel that that's appropriate given the highway visibility.
Got
Larger scale signage is appropriate. The zoning of this property, as well as most of the properties to the west, is actually PD 99, and so there are different signage requirements. One big difference, especially related to the blade sign, is that all of the properties within PD 99 are approved to have a monument sign along that frontage. Monument signs are prohibited in PD 88, and so the applicant doesn't really have that opportunity for advertising the name of their development along the Mercer frontage. So we saw the blade sign as a compromise that is
Thank you.
appropriate.
Thank you for providing that context.
Yeah, just the maximum 18-inch height seems awfully small. I mean, I'm looking under the.
PD 88 and especially the urban center district are really designed for mixed-use, walkable, pedestrian-oriented development, and the PD kind of intended small-scale offices and shops to be advertised with that signage. It didn't really envision single-use multifamily, which is a lot of what's been approved in that area. So that's the reason for the discrepancy.
That makes sense. Anyone else?
Quick question.
Yep.
It looks from the lighting plan that we have here that the lights that you have on the outside of the building are downward facing.
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing going up or out.
Correct.
And that's good. That's in keeping with the dark skies
Yes, sir.
philosophy.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? All right, seeing none, well, thank you. And commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the detailed site plan amendment with special exceptions for the property at 11900 Commerce Street as presented.
Thank you.
Second?
Any further discussion on the matter? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? All right. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. And this is one where we've approved. It will not go to city council, as I understand, so congratulations. And we will look forward to seeing that signage. All right, up next, we'll hear item C2. This is conduct a public hearing, consider the request for a special use permit for placement of cellular communication antennas on the existing municipal water tower and construction of an associated equipment shelter on an approximate 6.01 acre property located at 3725 Valley View Lane, and take appropriate action. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. This site is located at the corner of Marsh Lane and Valley View Lane, and it is a city-owned property that's developed with the Farmers Branch Justice Center, the Animal Adoption Center, and the Municipal Water Tower. The Municipal Water Tower, as you're familiar, does support cellular communication antennas right now, and with this request, the applicant is proposing to install new communication antennas for Dish Wireless, as well as construct an associated equipment building at the base of the tower. The site is zoned R2 One Family Residence District, and an SUP is required for any communication antennas. Here is a site plan showing the existing layout with the Justice Center and the water tower. And then on the right here, you can see an enlarged view. The water tower has antennas currently for 2 carriers, and that's AT&T and T-Mobile. And each of those carriers has an existing equipment shelter. So you can see the 2 buildings here. Dish Wireless is proposing a 3rd building to be located behind those existing buildings. Here is an elevation view of the water tower. The antennas for Dish Wireless are proposed at 107 feet in height, and then there is going to be 3 total antennas, which is 1 per sector. The antennas themselves will be painted to match the color of the water tower, and then in this elevation view, you can see the proposed equipment shelter at the base of the tower. This is an elevation drawing of that equipment shelter. It is a prefabricated building that will be installed on the site, similar to the 2 existing structures that are there. The CZO Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance does limit the size of these buildings to 7 feet in height and 55 square feet in area. The proposed structure exceeds these requirements, but it does match what is existing on site and what has been approved on site in the past. There was previously a building in this location that was torn down, and this is going back in the same location. And so the building itself will be refaced to match the 2 existing buildings, which you can see photographed here. So it'll have a stone veneer and be painted a similar color. And then here's a photo view of the water tower. The central area plan designates the site as public or semi-public and recommends that the city continue to provide superior public service to its citizens, which is accommodated through this request as it co-locates antennas and increases service while reducing the need for an additional tower. On June 1st, 2023, zoning notification letters were mailed to surrounding property owners and Carrollton and Dallas, Carrollton Farmers Branch and Dallas ISDs, and staff does recommend approval of the specific use permit. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and then we do have the applicant online through Zoom.
Great. Are there any questions for staff? We'll get to the public here. Yeah, we'll ask the questions for staff. It is a public hearing portion, so we will provide an opportunity for you to speak on the public hearing, but if you would. Yes. Just to let you know that it is a public hearing as indicated, so we will hear comments from the
I'm not sure that hers is working properly, but I think she's trying to let you know that you will have an opportunity to speak once we're done asking questions of the city staff.
Yes. Thank you so much, Roger.
We do also have a Dish Wireless representative.
I wanted to ask you, have you spoke to the other antenna providers or any letters to them regarding any sort of interference possibilities to their equipment or any concerns of that nature?
Staff has not. We do have John Roach with our Public Works Department that may be able to speak to that. I did fail to mention that as part of, if this request is approved, the city enters into a license agreement with each carrier individually. And so the city would approve a license agreement with Dish Wireless, and I'll let maybe John add to that.
Thank you.
John Roach, Special Projects Manager, Public Works, and I believe we also have Alan online visiting with us. And he can answer the more technical side of this, but generally speaking, let me know if I'm too loud.
You're great.
Generally speaking, it's standard language in the lease that once a carrier goes up, if there's any interference, that the carriers have to work it out amongst themselves. The city doesn't really get involved with trying to discern the problems for them. Certainly, if there's any problem with our communications equipment, 911, that kind of thing, then we cease all operations until we figure it out. But if there is interference between the carriers, then they need to figure that out. And usually, I think the one who's already been up there for a while gets precedence if someone has to come off, but we've never seen that. They assure me that the engineers in the industry have that pretty well worked out. And if Alan wants to chime in on anything more technical, I'll be glad to yield. So,
Any other questions for staff or our Public Works? Okay. Do we have questions for the applicant? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ron Corley. I'm with Dish Wireless, and my address is 2475 Dallas Parkway in Plano,
Thank you.
Texas. You said you do have a question?
No, I'm asking if folks have questions.
Okay, well, let me just respond also to the previous question.
Sure.
FCC also regulates how we work with one another, how Dish works with T-Mobile and how T-Mobile. And in addition to that, we already have prearranged agreements with T-Mobile and AT&T, and so we kind of work things out together.
Great. And I know we do have the applicant on Zoom, as Sarah mentioned. Do we have questions for the applicant? Okay. This is a public hearing, so I would invite those who are interested to speak on the matter, you please approach the podium. As you do, state your name and address for the record. And just a reminder, as in the other comments, you do have a 3-minute time limit. Yes.
I'm Faye Walker. I've been a resident on Pennystone Drive since October 1971. And I've seen the little community grow on the tower already, and they've, it keeps growing. I think they've got more of those antenna up there than we have houses in the neighborhood. But I don't mean to be flippant, but after a while, we're going to have just single-family shelters for all the communications companies, just like you were asking, are the signs going to keep getting bigger? And we have what I call an aesthetically pleasing little neighborhood, and I'd like to see it stay that way. And the more of these little shelters we get, the less we'll have that kind of residential area.
Thank you.
I'm Peggy Foster, and I live at 13151 Pennystone, and we also have lived there for over 50 years. I have the concern, too, about all the towers that keep going on there, and I would like to know, I want to see whatever research studies have been done to show the impact on all these that the EMF is going to have on the people in their neighborhood.
Thank you for your comments.
So what does that mean? I mean, I want to see the research, so am I just being dismissed?
At the time, in terms of answering you for the public comment, we can ask staff or Public Works if they have anything on hand, but we are limited to respond to you presently, again, in stating our city policy, providing a brief statement of factual information in response to your inquiry. I'm not an expert in the matter that you're addressing, so I'm unable to provide a brief statement of factual information. We can ask any of our staff or Public Works if they have that factual information on hand.
Okay, and then I'd also like to know what efforts went into locating this other than the water tower, which is right behind my house. So that's two things that I'd like to have addressed. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
I may not, oh, I was going to say, I may not be able to speak to the technical study. Okay.
I was just going to say that anything with regard to studies regarding electromagnetic frequencies, that kind of thing, we would rely on the industry to produce something like that. We don't have anything on hand. And with regard to any other potential locations for siting, we would also defer to the applicant for that.
Great. I know the applicant is online, if they would like to speak to these two questions.
Real quickly, I would also add that the zoning ordinance does limit the number of carriers that can be on one tower to 3. And so if this request is approved, that's the 3 carriers that are permitted. And so we would not see additional antennas added unless one goes away, which has happened several times in the past.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Let me also just a little bit too. One of the reasons that we look for existing structures is to avoid the proliferation of new towers going up. And so the city partners, if you will, with the communications industry. And then we work together to be able to solve that kind of a solution rather than trying to find a new location to build a new tower. And so it works out really well that way. So as far as the EMF, typically when antennas are, I'm not an engineer, but I've been in the industry for a while, but when antennas are up in the air like these are, there is no human involvement at all for those who are, you pretty much have to stay in front of the antenna for a period of time before any of the effects will interfere with an individual. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I saw our Zoom change, the applicant is online. Are you there to make comments?
Are they still there?
It shows that Alan has his hand raised.
Okay.
Is anyone in the AV room able to unmute him? I apologize. It looks like we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah. Just stand by for a moment while we have our folks upstairs in the AV room work to get that connection. Yes, please.
I am just curious, so you mentioned that this is replacing an antenna and a structure that was existing, and I actually live fairly close to there and I've watched them remove that structure. But so there was a third antenna there prior to this, and there won't ever be a fourth, is that my understanding? Under the current?
The zoning ordinance limits the number of carriers to 3. The Planning and Zoning Commission could approve an exception to that section of the CZO. But by right, another carrier could not locate on the tower.
So there's the shed, I'm sorry, I can't remember the terminology, is just replacing one that has recently been removed, and the antenna is replacing one that has recently been removed. So it's sort of been this way before.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alan, if you can hear us, we can see that you're online. You may have to.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, please state your name and address.
I'm so sorry, I couldn't find, I was over here, I was actually texting with Ron, who just came up to speak with you. Ron actually works for Dish, and I was just trying to speak, not knowing he was there, and I apologize. My name is Alec Broadus. Alan is actually on an airplane and last minute had to miss the meeting, but asked me to fill in for me, and he works with me and I work with him. So everything that Ron had indicated to you, I really can't add to that. I was raising my hand to try to answer the questions at the time, but Ron was able to answer them for me. So I think we've answered all the questions in regards to, and y'all have, as far as EMF and any other issues that could have been answered. I think Ron already got them.
Well, could you just go ahead and restate, give us another opinion on the EMF, just so that it's crystal clear?
I mean, you know, I can't really speak because I'm not an engineer, as Ron said, but I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and, you know, antennas are located throughout the country and on water towers. I don't know the exact number, but well into the thousands of water towers across the country and towers in general. Not that that speaks to the question that's asked, but, you know, not me, and, you know, and Ron had also indicated that FCC regulates this. So if there was any issues, the government is regulating it on their end.
Great, thank you. Any further questions? And would you mind, just because I didn't catch it, just restating your name and address for the
Yes,
record?
I'm Alec Broadus, 4 Country Place Circle, Arlington, Texas, 76016.
Thank you so much.
I take the rest of my 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to add to what Peggy Foster said. I think they've said that for years, that there's no impact on the electrical lines that run across people's property or in the area behind people's property. And we know it actually, those lines can actually contribute to cancer. So to say that one more won't hurt our bodies is saying the same thing they used to say about the electrical lines. There are so many of those antenna up there on the tower. I can't believe that they're not having some kind of effect on us as a neighborhood.
Thank you.
You were looking at it?
There's 3. There's 3 antennas. There's 3 antennas on that water tower.
There's 3 carriers that have.
3 carriers that have antennas, but they're not any more than there was before. It's- Yes, but there's not, it's the same number of carriers that were there before.
Great.
Yes, just to
And I think we see one more person for public comments. Did you want to also speak at the public hearing? Thank you so much. And just, again, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's David Foster. I'm Peggy's husband. Yes, we've lived there for 51 years. And being there, and this water tower is just across the street from my backyard. He was talking about water towers being in the neighborhoods and everything, not that close or that many water towers being right next to someone's backyard. You have a water tower down here at Beltline and Marsh Lane. A little over a mile away. They put towers onto them down there, and that's not near, that's within a half mile or quarter of a mile from a residential area. Our residential area is across the street. My sidewalk splits the middle of that water tower. And having more electricity waves running out and through, I mean, we have the police station, they're communicating through there and everything, and the other mechanisms that they have on there right now, they put them up, some of them while we were living there, but we never got a notice of what they were putting up there or why. And putting more on there, that's same what Peggy said, putting out more waves. I don't go for it.
Thank you for your comments. Any other questions, comments from commissioners?
I just have another question for city staff, just to reiterate and maybe clarify some of this. Is this an understanding from Commissioner Petrangelo? This is a replacement of equipment that had previously been there, or is this additional equipment?
John has a better record of the history. I'll let him.
What happened was there was some consolidation in the industry where T-Mobile merged or took over Sprint, and so we had redundant, T-Mobile had redundant needs up there, or resources. So Sprint came down. T-Mobile actually did the what they call decommissioning process on that. And they removed the equipment shelter, they removed their antennas, they removed their cabling. Around that same time, we heard the Dish might be interested in the site. Very quickly after that, Dish tabled that for a while, and then they came back and said, yeah, we think we are going to go. So Dish is going up. Now, it's not a replacement in the sense that it's the same company or it's the same equipment. It's a different company, but they happen to be going up at a time when someone else came down from the tower within about a year.
So basically Sprint came down and removed, and now we're putting up Dish in their spot, so to speak.
Dish requested, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not really adding additional equipment. It may be newly enhanced equipment, but
Correct.
we're not.
Yeah.
Okay. So we still have 3 carriers.
Correct.
And not 4 or anything like that. Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, any further discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the SUP.
All right, we have a movement to recommend approval
I second.
and a second. Any further discussion on the item, commissioners? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. This will go to City Council on
July 18th.
July 18th will be the City Council hearing. Thank you very much. All right, with that, that adjourns our meeting. Item D, it is presently 7:32. Thank you.